Amy, can you take a roll call, please?
Mr. Gilbert?
Here?
Mr. Teetsort?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Heather?
Here.
Mrs. Taube?
Here.
Okay. In keeping with our initiative of reminding everybody of our mission statement for Northwest Local School District is Northwest Local School District will create a positive, responsive learning community where all students are valued, challenged, and guided along the pathway to success. Okay, that brings us to legislative update.
Mark just checked on an update on House Bill 126, which we discussed at length at our last meeting, and there's absolutely no updates.
Okay. Thanks for the update on the no update.
No updates on the update.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Student Achievement Report.
All right. First, I'd like to recognize Kim Smiley. She teaches at Montfort Heights Elementary. Kim is part of our teacher team for Portrait of a Graduate, and she took her class on a field trip through the school kitchen where they learned about customer service. They also had a visit from the Nacho Average Taco Cart food truck, and the students are now working, after seeing the food truck, they're working with Kim and also the art teacher to develop their own menus and build out designs for their own food truck. So
Nice.
just emphasize on our Portrait of a Graduate program that she's helping lead, so it's important. And then also we have some students at White Oak Middle School, BPA State Leadership Conference qualifiers. They will be traveling to Dallas, Texas in May to compete at the National Leadership Conference. And they are Amaya Boggs, first place in word processing. Estelle Mumboji and Janaya Dawara are first place in website design. Alana Dykes is first place in graphic design promotion. Ayush Dahal, first place entrepreneurship exploration. Logan Holtman, first place in digital citizenship. Nate Cook, fourth place in digital citizenship. David Gonzalez, Lincoln Ryan, Isaac Jovette are second place in our digital game design team. So awesome to see our middle school students there, and they'll be traveling to Dallas. And then would also like to now introduce Mr. Clymer from Coleraine Elementary and our third grade teacher, Tracy Hyatt, who are going to present their students. Ms. Hyatt's third grade class took Coleraine Elementary's PBIS motto, SOAR, which is Safety, Ownership, Achieve, and Respectful. And the students wrote an illustrated page showing examples for one of the letters in SOAR. So I'll let Mr. Clymer introduce Ms. Hyatt.
All right, very good. Let me go grab them.
It's game time, guys. It's like a proud father.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. You guys look awesome.
All right, so as Mrs.
Hello.
Talby has said, we are super excited to have some of our students from Miss Hyatt's classroom to share the book that they helped create and actually got published. So we're super excited for them. They're going to be sharing the page that they are responsible for. I'm super excited to say that Miss Hyatt is brand new to our district this year. And she has joined an already strong third grade team and has done just a fabulous job and has been a great member of our CE staff. So we're super excited to have her here and the students as well as your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody that's out there. So the question that you had for me this afternoon, are you nervous? And I said, well, anytime you stand in front of people and speak, you're going to be a little nervous. But some of you actually reassured me and said it would be okay. So now I'm going to do the same for you and say you will be okay. And I'm super proud of you. Okay? All right. This is.
How do I just move forward this way?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So I just wanted
to quickly say, I ordered a kit from Student Treasures. It's free to order. They send you the paperwork. We go through the writing process, 3rd grade standards, and they created it. They came up with the name, came up with what they wanted to write about, and actively engaged, cooperatively, working together, they created this book and we got it published. So super proud of them. You know, how could you not be? They're an awesome group of 3rd graders. So I will go ahead and get started with the slideshow. So this is the cover. I am awful at art, so we had the art teacher do our cover illustration for us, Miss Crane. She did a fantastic job. This is the inside, so written by with all of their pictures. Cover illustration by Miss Natalie Crane.
Dedicated to our families, friends, and Corinne Elementary School.
Cardinal Soil. We are safe. We take ownership. We achieve. We are respectful.
3rd grade has been working extremely hard this year. With rigor and determination, they do their very best each day. Their perseverance is inspiring. Please enjoy reading how they strive to soar as Colerain Cardinals. Love, Miss Hyatt.
We are safe. In 3rd grade, we are safe by walking quietly in the hallway. We don't want to disturb others. We don't want to distract others too. Christian.
We are safe in 3rd grade. We are safe by keeping our bodies to ourselves. We should keep our bodies to ourselves because we can hurt someone else. You should also keep your body to yourself because it is mean to touch someone else without their permission. Paige. We are safe in 3rd grade. We are safe by pushing in our chairs so we don't trip or fall. This is important because we can't get around. Another reason to do this is so we don't get any bruises. Summer Hanson.
We are safe. We walk in the classroom to be safe and not fall. If we didn't, we would be hurt. We can walk in the classroom to not hurt other people. Aiden. We take ownership. In 3rd grade, we complete classwork in a timely manner. We want to get good grades so we can go to 4th grade. We complete our classwork in a timely manner so we can move on to other lessons. Once we are finished, we can have more features. Jocelyn Owen. We take ownership. In 3rd grade, we take ownership by respecting our friends' personal space. We can get our friends sick. We give our friends personal space because we might cheat on a business. Damani.
We take ownership. In 3rd grade, we take ownership by being prepared for this, such as getting the mic supplies like markers, pencils, and erasers. Be prepared to do a lot of work, hard, be nice to everyone. Bobby William Jackson.
We take ownership. We take ownership by keeping our cafeteria clean. We take all of our trash and put it in the trash can. We don't talk with our mouth full because we could spread germs like Kennedy. We take ownership. In 3rd grade, we take ownership by keeping our personal electronics in our backpacks. If we didn't put our stuff in our backpacks, we could break it or lose it. If we didn't put it in there for the whole class, it could be a distraction. Riley Roberts.
In 3rd grade, we achieved by completing our work on time. We can complete our work on time by not talking when we work. We can complete our work on time by being focused on our work. We can complete our work on time by following directions at all times. Adler Robert Pikes. In 3rd grade, we achieved by being an active listener. If you listen to your teacher, you will learn more. You should always be an active listener. Robin.
In the third grade, we achieved by being problem solvers, figuring out the problems you learn. Helps you learn. Being problem solvers helps others so you don't fight. Victor. We achieved. In the 3rd grade, we achieved by demonstrating effort. We demonstrate effort by being by getting work turned in on time. We demonstrate effort by listening to our teacher. We demonstrate effort by being careful. By Julia. We are respectful. In the 3rd grade, we are respectful by following our teacher because she is telling us important stuff. We are respectful by using manners. We are respectful by saying thank you and have a nice day. By Jay.
We are respectful in the 3rd grade. We are respectful because we use kind words. You might hurt your friend's feelings if you say mean things. If you are nice, that won't happen. Being nice, you won't go to the principal's chest. We are respectful in the 3rd grade. We are respectful because we raise our hands and wait to be called upon to speak. We don't talk when we are supposed to because our teacher will not call on us if we don't raise our hands. If we don't raise our hands, it would be distracting. Somebody could be working.
We are respectful in the 3rd grade. We are respectful by walking in a single file line. You walk respectfully by not talking. Another way to walk respectfully is facing forward. You walk one stair at a time. When you walk, pay attention, no fighting. By Colton Warren.
Go ahead!
Good job. Thank you, guys. That was awesome.
That was great.
Was it hard how did you figure out who was going to write what page of the book? Did you each get one of the SOAR elements?
Yeah. We had groups in, it was like the first group did S, the second group did O, and then the 3rd group did I. I mean A, and then the next group did R.
Awesome. All your pictures were really good too. Really good. We can all learn from reading that book.
Yeah.
How do we get a
Great
copy of
job.
that?
We can
Amazon.
order them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazon.
No, it has to go through the student treasures, and there's like a special pin you have to put in.
Not one of you looked nervous.
No.
Yeah.
Great job.
They did fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah, very good.
I will say, we also threw in a social studies standard because as we were taking the papers to be published in the mail, Colton here was like, oh, I get it. So we're the producers and our parents are the consumers.
Very good. Well, thank you guys very much. Awesome job.
Great job, guys. Mrs. Hyatt, welcome to Northwest Local.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Happy
being
to
so
be here.
energetic first year in.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
so much.
Thanks, Mr. Clymer.
Calling you like a proud father.
Absolutely. Staying out of the principal's office.
How cool is that?
They're like, we're not in kindergarten, we're in 3rd grade.
What's that? Yeah. Yeah.
I love those things.
So are you going to top that with your Butler Tech update?
Yeah, give that a shot there, Jimmy.
You know,
You should have followed legislative
I don't think
updates.
that's gonna happen.
This is what happens when they grow up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the other end of the spectrum.
I'd like to have Chris Trentman come up to the podium there.
Thank you. That's going to be a very hard act to
I know. Sorry, girls.
It's all right. Just a real quick update also from last month. We had brought in our robotics team and they competed a couple weeks ago. Just to let you know, they finished 8th out of about 50 teams. They've made some tweaks over the past couple weeks and now they have another competition coming up in 2 more weeks. So they're pretty excited. They're hoping to finish in the top 3, which would get them into the national.
Where's that competition at?
The next one's in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay.
It's by the Nassau complex. So,
Okay.
Yep. So they're very
Awesome.
excited. So yes, tonight I'd like to bring up our cosmetology program at Northwest. It's led by Kyra Tyler, and bring up some of her students. Just highlight some of the great things that they've done over the past couple of years. So great.
Awesome.
You guys wanna come up? Tyler? You're fine.
Hello.
Hi.
I am Kyra Tyler. I am the cosmetology teacher for Butler Tech at Northwest. I've been a licensed cosmetologist for 28 years, and I've been a teacher for the last 6. Every year is a new year. Every year I'm learning more, and by the time I retire, I'll probably be good at this. But I brought some students with me today. I have one junior student, 2 current senior students, and 1 former student who is making her way in the world. And I just want to turn it over to them and let them tell you about our program.
Great.
We're going to start with my junior and work our way up.
Hi.
Hello.
I wanted to start off by thanking everyone for having me today. This program has been one of a kind to me. I've gotten to meet so many people and build lifelong relationships. I also have one of the best teachers I've ever had, Miss Tyler. She is loving and passionate while also focused and persistent. Going into the Northwest Cosmetology program, I was nervous about learning everything I could while also juggling other classes. Needless to say, Miss Tyler is always reassuring and makes it known that with hard work and commitment, we will learn the most that we can in our 2 years. Coming into the program, I was also skeptical about earning hours, and the stress of not having enough was never ending. But as I said before, Miss Tyler lays it all out for us in the beginning of the year. We also log our hours in our notebooks to keep ourselves on track. She also reassures us that there are other ways to get hours, such as the online Milady program and at-home services. Miss Rule and Mr. Hester run the chemistry side of cosmetology and are always there to help. I've had some struggles with the chemistry portion of the program just because it is primarily online, but I know that with their help I can achieve anything. I also love getting to do applications on the mannequins and getting to work hands-on. That's what really attracted me to the program. I love the real-world experience I get by being in the program and getting to apply what we learn directly to the mannequin almost right after we learn it. Sometimes the timing of the lessons is hard to understand, but we get through them efficiently and eventually circle back and review. I've also had the obstacles of trying to manage my workload on top of the program, but with hard work, you can get what you need to get done for the day and then have the opportunity to work on your other classwork on some days. This really helps manage the stress of the assignments. I've also had obstacles on whether I'm doing a good application the right way or not, but I always have Miss Tyler's critiques on what I did good and how I can improve on next time. The one-on-one critiques are something I don't take for granted because I believe they help me the most. This program has allowed me to improve at my job as well. I work as a receptionist at a hair salon, and it has helped me with my communication skills and my knowledge of hair. I have overcome problems and addressed concerns in a confident and professional manner due to the program. Overall, this program has helped me immensely, and I've had a great experience so far.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you guys tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. My name is Anna Marie, and I'm currently a senior at the Northwest Butler Tech Cosmetology program. The reason I chose the class is because I love to help people feel better about themselves. I like the idea of them leaving, feeling better about themselves, happier with the way they look. Before I started the class, I'd actually met Ms. Tyler through another Butler Tech teacher, Ms. Tony Smith, and she was always uplifting, always making people smile. Even when she didn't know us, she always made us feel welcomed. Another thing about Ms. Tyler is that she's never afraid to tell us that it's okay to fail. Being a cosmetologist comes with a lot of failure, a lot of trial and error, but it's okay to do that. She shares her stories with us and how she's failed in the past and how she's helped, get better at what she's doing. She always tells us how we can do better in other classes and applying what we're learning in the class outside of classes. She also helps us with our hours and what we're going to do after we finish the program. So after that I finish the program, I plan on going to state board, passing my state board test, and owning my own mobile salon. So I plan on doing wedding hairstyles and makeup, and she helps me with that, focus that as my main point. I work really hard on my updos and thermal styles along with my makeup, and she always helps us critique ourselves in a good way, but not something that's gonna like hurt our feelings. Does just a little bit. But yeah, she's always there to help us and get better no matter what, and make sure that we know that even if we're trying and we fail, it's okay because we're trying our hardest. As long as we apply everything that we do.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Olivia Prado. I am a senior at Northwest High School. I'm also in the cosmetology class in the career building. The reason why I picked cosmetology is to make people feel more better about themselves and to make myself better than what I was doing before. Kyra Tyler is a wonderful teacher. She has taught me so much I didn't know before coming into this industry. Like the first day of class, doing hands-ons, she asked us if we knew how to hold a comb. We all said yes. She said wrong. Then she showed us on how to hold a comb, and ever since it stuck with me. And what I would like to do after school is to go into welding class. Cosmetology isn't my career, but I really enjoy doing it. Like what me and my sister talked about is making our own little company. When we get our license, we will be going around the world and doing weddings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi. My name is Jyra Rogers, and I would like to thank you all for having me here. Growing up, most of the time, you could find me braiding up my mannequins, watching YouTube videos on popular styles. It was like the one thing I enjoyed doing most. So being asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? My answer was, I want to do hair. In 2016, I had the opportunity of being selected to join the Butler Tech Cosmetology program. I was excited to finally turn my dreams into reality. My first year in the program was rough. My class had seen at least 3 different instructors come and go. It was hard with the inconsistency of people who I admire most. I had seen more than half of my class fell out because of the lack of education we received, and the drive just wasn't there anymore in just our first year. However, through all of that, I stayed strong because I was determined to get my cosmetology license. My senior year came and I met Mrs. Tyler. She had no idea how big of a mess she would have to clean up. She spent time calculating how many hours we needed just to complete the program. She was so determined to make sure that we made it to state board and pass. Working twice as hard my senior year in the program with the guidance of Ms. Tyler is why I am who I am today. When it came to take our state board exam, Ms. Tyler supported each student along the way. Even if we didn't pass fully, she was grateful to get us that far. Now, I was one of the students who had only passed one of 2 portions of the exam. I ended up going back and received my license. I had finally accomplished what I worked so hard for. After high school, I went on, started my next journey at Mount St. Joseph University, where I started taking clients on campus. This helped me build my professionalism before working in a salon. Everyone knows what it's like being a broke college student, and I was blessed to have a trade I could make money from while still being in school. I made many friends just by being able to do hair, especially many students who lived hours from campus and couldn't go home to get their hair done. When it was time for me to walk a stage for the second time, I now had 2 career opportunities to choose from in my adult life. Did I want to potentially work as a business professional at a marketing company or work as a cosmetologist? Many people frowned upon the fact that I had gone to college, received my degree, and still wanted to work at what they considered a dead-end job. I would always explain that my degree would help me in many different ways if I decided to be a full-time cosmetologist. My parents always supported my decision, so despite everyone's opinions, I knew that they would support whichever route I took. I decided that I wanted to do hair. I was always drawn to it. I've been working at Uncle Bumpy's barbershop and salon for almost 3 years now. Also managing the salon area, I love being able to share my gift with the community. I'm currently working on becoming a cosmetology instructor, and I want my own salon in the future. Being an advisory committee member of the program helps me give back to the program even more. Giving students something with the knowledge I have now and the experiences I've had, I hope that sharing my story, the ups and the downs, inspires others to always strive for better. Thank you.
Awesome.
to say kudos to all the hard work that's been put over the past couple of years to all the girls, because COVID's really put a damper on the cosmetology, just because of everything. So, kudos to Mrs. Tyler for staying on some of those seniors that graduated a couple of years ago, and just make sure they follow through with the state board license, even though it was shut down there for a while. So, just great work by everybody. So, you guys have any questions for any of the girls or anything?
How do you get customers to come in? Do you guys,
Well,
maybe with,
So when I started at Northwest, the program had been up and running for like 4 years, but there was no clinic floor. And we started getting our clinic floor built up, and then COVID hit. So we're still on, at this time, like the students have client days where they bring in family and friends.
okay,
But we're slowly but surely going to get that back open.
good.
Can you tell me how you ended up getting into instructing this?
So I worked at State Board of Cosmetology for 10 years. And Kristen Abedacker was the supervisor at the time of the switch of the instructor. And she had contacted me because I was the school liaison for the Board of Cosmetology. And she had contacted me to come and meet with her and kind of coach her through like what the requirements and all that stuff was for the state. And after our meeting, we were on our way out the door, and she was like, "Ever thought about being a teacher?" And I was like, "No." And so I just stayed in contact with her, and she just kind of showed me the opportunities of being an instructor. And she was like, "Don't just look at it as dealing with high school kids, look at it as what you can do and why." Her thing when I first started, my first year, all of our PD was on what is your why. And that's really kind of what she talked to me about when I would talk to her, like, just think about it and think about what you went through as a high schooler going through cosmetology, because I graduated from Springfield Clark CTC. So I know what it's like being in cosmetology your junior and senior year in high school. And the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that would be fun. And I know what this industry can do for you. I got married right out of high school. I was 18 when I got married. And my husband is bipolar. We didn't know that for years. But he couldn't keep a job if you strapped it on his back. Bless his heart. So cosmetology is how I raise my family and how I raise my kids. And I know what this industry can bring to young people. It's all about the effort that you want to put into it. Like Jyla, I'm so proud of her. Even though she made me cry, she just loved doing it and was passionate about it. And all I wanted to do was support her and let her know that if this is what you want to do, you can go as far and make pretty much as much money as you want to in this career. So that's why I'm here.
I love how you guys talked about your struggles through it, but also how you overcame that, and how you continue to follow them even after they graduate.
Absolutely.
So,
I love my
awesome
babies. I
job.
love them.
Yeah,
thank
very
you for
cool.
And I don't
Thank you,
want
girls.
anyone to be fooled by your opening statements about the fact that you've been doing it 6 years and someday you might get it right. I've been in your classroom. You teach like a champion. You've already got it right because you've got the heart.
Yeah.
So I've been there, I've seen it, and they're evidence of your why.
Thank you so much. Yeah. That means more than you will ever know, because every day I leave like, I should have did this, I should have said this, So it's a hard job. I had no idea.
That constant reflection is what keeps us getting better.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, good job.
So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say thank you for coming out. I know you had to follow the third graders, but I think you did a fantastic job. I love hearing from students, both young and old, and it's great that we listen to third graders tonight, now high schoolers, and then even Jyla, if I pronounced that right. Thank you for coming back as an alumnus to share your story with us. I really appreciate that.
So, question,
Yes.
and excuse my ignorance.
No.
So, if a client comes to you, what is the average time spent with a client? I'm sure it varies, but
Yeah,
It'd be quick for you, Mark.
Thank you.
Just as quick for me.
Honestly, cosmetology is so broad there's really not an average amount of time because it really depends on what
Sure.
type of service you're getting. Jila, for instance, is a braider. Yeah, so she might go in and have one client
Yeah.
and be there for 8 hours.
Sure.
To where like when I was in the salon, I was primarily like great clips, and I might do 40 haircuts in a day. So it just depends on like what the actual service is, depending on your time frame. Now, let's talk a little bit about time because, sorry, Chris, I love the AB schedule because it gives my students time. Like when Jila was there, she never got to do a real hair color because we didn't have time. We had 2 hours. It takes new students an hour and a half to get the color applied. So by the time you wait 45 minutes for it to process, all you have time to do is rinse it out. To where now my seniors are doing double process colors. They are bleaching hair and toning it and then coloring it in a day, to where they would have never had that experience before the AB schedule. So thought I'd throw that out.
That's
So-
really interesting to hear that, because you hear mostly the kids saying
I'm
the
the only
opposite
one
of
that
AB.
loves it.
So that's
Yeah! When we're in meetings, I'm like, I don't care what y'all say, I love it. It just really,
Yes.
it really works good for my program. I understand why it doesn't work for other people, but for me,
That's great.
it really has elevated my program. My seniors are walking out doing way more than we've ever been able to have time to do. So I love that.
So to me, not knowing much about it, but listening to your influence on these young ladies, it comes down to the relationship that you have with them. And it seems like when you're with somebody, and I've heard a few of you reference this, like if you're going to change the world, you're going to do it through relationships and commitment. And to me, that's the blessing in a program like this. Like, you get some serious one-on-one time with somebody, and you can really dig deep with somebody, which you never have any idea what you're going to encounter when you're with people like that. So, thank you for sharing.
Can I add something?
Sure.
One thing about Miss Tyler is that she's always improving. Like every year there's something different. Such as this year, we've had time to have nail classes and sewing classes. She works every year to change something and make the class better, to better us, so we have more knowledge when we get out into the career field to be able to do different people's hair, no matter what race or what kind of hair you have, or like thickness, thinness, doesn't matter. We can do any of it. But she works every day to make sure that we can all do any style of hair and make sure that everyone feels good about themselves.
My last question is, I love watching people in some of the vocation programming and the older students work with the younger students. Do you have any outlets where you can work with the elementary kids? Is there something that you could do when we are preparing to come back to school, when we have the Northgate Mall initiative? Has it been Northgate the last time?
Yeah, help there.
The health fair, thank you. Like that you guys could participate in that, or just some outlets to create influence and promote your program?
I mean, yeah, I don't know about a lot of it. And, COVID shut down a lot. So I'm willing to do whatever we need to do to.
Yeah.
My first year when I was here, we had a summer program. And I actually have one of my juniors this year. She was in the 7th grade and came to that program. And so now she's one of my juniors. So I'm always willing to do, whatever it is to get out there and let people know about the program and help our community.
Yeah.
How many kids do you have in your class total?
I have 21 juniors and 15 seniors now.
Wow.
That's great.
Awesome. Congratulations again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else, Jim?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Any
Chris is awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That brings us to reports from any employee organization. Do you have any submitted? I had one submitted from Taylor Elementary, and they would like me to share that Taylor Elementary Student Council has been busy this year giving back to their friends and neighbors. They collected over 1,700 socks to donate to King's Closet, and over 900 canned goods for Matthew 25 Ministries, and over 800 personal care items for the citizens of Ukraine. They made holiday placemats for Meals on Wheels, spent mornings picking up trash around the school building, helping in other grade level classrooms, and even volunteered for after-school activities like Math Olympic Night. They are an amazing group of children who give hope to a brighter future full of compassion, empathy, and kindness. Okay, that brings us to community comments. We do have one submission, but before we do that, I will read our guidelines. Somewhere here, I got it. Should have been prepared, apologize. Amy, I don't think I have it. What is it? I don't have it. So that our, this isn't it, is it? Oh. I had another one that looked a little different, sorry about that. The Board of Education recognizes the value of school governance and public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public who are residents of the school district to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The board is also committed to conducting its meetings in a productive and efficient manner that assures that regular agenda of the board is completed in a reasonable period of time, honors the voluntary nature of the board's time in using that time efficiently, and allows for a fair and adequate opportunity to input to be considered. Consequently, public participation at the board meetings will be governed by the following rules. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period for public participation at every regular meeting of the board and at those public meetings of the board during which action may be taken, and publish rules of govern such participation in board meetings. The presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the rules of the board for its conduct. The presiding officer shall be guided by the following rules. Public participation shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business. Attendees must register with their intentions to participate in a public portion of the meeting upon their arrival of the meeting. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and will be requested to preface their comments by an announcement of their name, address, group affiliation, if and when that is appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration unless extended by the presiding officer. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic. All statements shall be directed by the presiding officer. No person may address or question the board members individually. Tape or video recordings are permitted. The person operating the recorder should contact superintendent prior to the board meeting to review possible placement of equipment and must agree to abide by the following conditions. No obstructions are created between the board and the audience. No interviews are conducted in the meeting room while the board is in session. No commentary, adjustment of equipment, or positioning of operator is made that would distract either the board or members of the audience while the board is in session, and not to disrupt the meeting. The presiding officer may prohibit public comments that are frivolous, repetitive, and/or harassing, interrupt, warn, terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, offensive, off-topic, antagonistic, obscene, or irrelevant, and request any individual to leave the meeting when the person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting, and call for a recess or adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. And so our submission tonight is from Glenda Smith.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you, board members. Talking about juvenile justice reform, it's really not fair for me to have to talk after hearing from all the third graders and their success, and also the cosmetology students, but it's wonderful hearing the good news that's going on around here. Again, my name is Glenda Smith. I'm running for Hamilton County Juvenile Court Judge. I'm running because Hamilton County Juvenile Court is 30 years behind the rest of the country and 12 years behind the rest of Ohio in juvenile justice reforms that reduce juvenile violence, reduce detention, reduce racial and ethnic disparity, and reduce racial profiling while still keeping the community safe. I've seen the impact of these reforms, and I'd like to see them here in Hamilton County. There is a bill before the legislature right now that's consistent with the reforms going on across the country. And that bill is House Bill 500. It abolishes mandatory bindover. Mandatory bindover occurs when a juvenile commits a certain offense and probable cause is found, and that juvenile is automatically tried as an adult. We have found, the data supports that these juveniles that are bound over to adult court have a 38% higher chance of committing another crime than a juvenile that has committed a similar offense and stays in juvenile court. So I'm asking you to do your due diligence and contact your legislature to support that. Kentucky has already abolished mandatory bindover, and 10 other states have done it. So I thank you for your time and for the opportunity to get a glimpse of what's going on here at Northwest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to Daryl Yater, Superintendent Consent Items.
So tonight we have some of our normal personnel items with resignations and various extra duty assignments. Under business for vendor contracts, we have all of our elementary schools with PBIS rewards, the Mayerson Academy for Thriving Learning Communities, which supports our middle schools. We have donations from Northwest High School Alumni Association for Pay to Participate in the Memory of Mary Townsend, and a Donors Choose project for Melissa Griley at White Oak. We also have a resolution that will award a partial demolition contract for Weigel Elementary, which you'll remember our school side has been slated for that for a while, and based on our recent roof leaks, it's more cost effective for us to move to that partial demolition. Curriculum has a revised program of study. This is for the high school for next year that includes multiple CCP courses, as well as a high school financial literacy course and a high school data science foundation course. And there is a field trip for White Oak Power the Pen to compete in their state championship. With that, the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the adoption of the consent items as listed.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion for Daryl?
So the demolition is all inclusive of, so when they're done, they're going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Modify the remaining portion to be useful, right?
So you want to?
Yeah, so the south end of the connector between the two buildings, that'll be closed in with block, and then the rest of the building will be demolished, and then all the ground will be graded, topsoil and seeded.
Okay.
So the gym will stay and the glass entryway will stay. Everything beyond the glass entryway that was the main entrance to the Weigel campus will be gone.
Okay.
I can't believe Butler Tech doesn't have a program that can do this.
I think we do. We'll get some equipment down here.
Get on that, Jim.
I'll get on that tomorrow.
Great, that passes 5-0. Thank you, Daryl. And that brings us to Amy Wells.
Good evening.
Hi.
First, we have our minutes from the March 14th regular meeting that we need to dispense with reading of and approve. We have our February financial reports. Our all funds balance was $69.4 million. Our general fund unreserved balance is $38.9 million. Our revenues are at $72.6 million, or at 74% for the year. and our expenditures are at 59.5 million, or at 61% for the year. Our invested weighted average return is 0.5%. And our list of monthly bills, we have our routine monthly bills, as well as we purchased some Chromebooks. We have payments for our HVAC project, some roofing repairs, renovations on the WAM stage and the Colerain High School weight room. We have a shelving system for records, crosswalk equipment, the Weigel demo project, the 2020 summer PI projects, and some auxiliary and grant fund payments. And then we also have our quarterly appropriation resolution at 156 million. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the fiscal consent items as listed.
So moved.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion or question for Amy Wells? That passes 5-0. Thank you, Amy.
So for information, we have 3 handbooks from the curriculum department for the next school year. It is our grading and reporting handbook, our field trip handbook, and our credit flex handbook. This is the first of a variety of handbooks that will come before the board. That will come first as information, and the next meeting will be for approval. But we have a series of handbooks that come every year for updates. This is the first of the handbooks that will be coming.
Okay. Superintendent update?
And then just a few things to share. First, I want to acknowledge that our hearts go out today for the loss of Amari Kelly, to his family, to his friends, to the students and staff at the high school and the middle school and the elementary, and everyone in the community who have been impacted by this. It has been a huge loss, and our hearts are with everyone as they mourn. Also wanted to follow up, Nicole, with what you said about Kim Smiley and her Portrait of a Graduate. Portrait of a Graduate is something we've talked about in the past, and it's being worked on this year a little bit behind the scenes, and people like Kim Smiley are continuing to bring it to the forefront. And those are expeditions that are being created. Hers was one that she on her own thought up to really kind of bring the curriculum to life. And so we're excited that our teachers are working to build these experiences that will be embedded into all of our classrooms throughout our entire continuum, and we'll continue to update the board as those experiences are planned, and then they'll start being evident next year with actual student experiences and students being involved in them systemically. Want to also acknowledge that last week there was a conference in Columbus for federal programs, and we had multiple people that were there in attendance, but we also had some people that were there who were presenting. And so Brenda led a team who actually presented at the state conference, and so I wanted to give her a moment to share a little bit about what they presented at the state level.
Good evening.
Hi, Brenda.
So I had an opportunity on Thursday to go up with 3 members of our team in curriculum. Zach Phelps, Katie Bordix, and Bill Gray joined me. And we had a chance to share some exciting findings we have related to the relationship between several different pieces of data and state assessment results, and research that was done in the spring and then again this fall to show that there are specific guidelines related to how students practice with IXL learning that actually lead to improved results that we can predict. And so we're just getting started, but we had some expert researchers from IXL join us in the spring, use our data to kind of prove a concept, and then we had a chance to extend that and share our findings with educators from across the state. So it was a wonderful conference, and we were thankful for the opportunity to be there and also to have the opportunity to share our work.
And we're thankful that our curriculum department is leading the charge and the work and the innovation with a lot of this work statewide. And so I'm excited about that. So thank you, Brenda, for sharing that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And then the last, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say we got to see IXL quite a bit during remote learning in my house. A favorite.
And then I just wanted to share that I know the board has really been hyper-focused, and Mark has challenged people to really think about how to celebrate and shine the light on the positive things that are happening in the district. And so I've been talking to a lot of the principals and have been meeting with them about how do we continue to do that in a way that kind of tells our story in the way that is really indicative of what a student experience is in our school. Our principals are already here, like Colin was tonight, sharing the SALT report, which is that real student experience piece. In the past, we've always had principals who came and did principal reports, and they would kind of be able to highlight the high-level things that are happening in their building and some of the major innovations that they're experiencing. And so the principals were very, when I talked to them about how do we continue to tell our story, they were very open to and encouraged to want to come back and do that again. They want to be able to tell their story and share that. So moving forward, when we have a night like tonight where Colin or a principal is sharing that student experience, we'll add a special presentation for them to be able to share some building highlights. I know they'll bring in the past, they brought PTA with them to really thank the PTA because they do so much to help lift up our staff and our schools and really support them. So they'll invite them to come with them. I know we'll continue to have PTA who come and share some of the ways ongoing that they're supporting. And then I'll continue to use this time for buildings who are not able to be there for a presentation to continue to highlight some of those really important things that are happening in our building that our principals want to be able to share. So we'll be able to start the meeting with a principal talking about their school, get into the middle of the meeting with a student experience, and then wrap up with some more positives from the district. So we're going to be very intentional about being able to tell that positive story. So just wanted to share some of the exciting things that are coming up so we can continue to tell that positive story that we have.
Awesome. I love that.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments, discussion for Daryl?
Well, just on the updates, I was curious what the updates were with the booster meeting in regards to the facility, the athletic facility at Coleraine.
So right now, we went over the two plans because we've visioned with the high school around athletics for twice now. So those plans have been shared with Matt and Aaron at the high school, at Corn High School. They've looked at some of the things they think could be small tweaks without having to go through a full revisioning process. And they're actually getting input right now from the boosters as well as all of the coaches. And then we're waiting on them to bring back their proposal for how they want to kind of reframe that to move forward. So we're waiting on them to finish their process to get input.
Is there a date that you said or they've said?
They said that they needed 2 weeks to get that done. So I believe that should be the end of this week. We should hear from them.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up some concerns I've had over some behavior issues that have been brought to my attention by both my child and other children, videos, things that I've seen. I would like to ask the board and you, Daryl, to consider that we look at our current discipline policies and collaborate with our administrators to help support them and build consistency among how behavior is handled at our schools. And then also, I think that we need to consider implementing a zero tolerance policy, especially with multiple offenses and fights that I've heard that have maybe triggered just in the recent weeks.
So one of the things that will be coming is every year the board approves the student code of conduct, which is the guidelines for how discipline is administered district-wide. Every year we engage all of our administrators in that revision process. They basically write it with us about what they want in terms of tools at their disposal. And so that will be coming. What I can do is I can send the current one around with kind of a summary of what it looks like, and then get feedback from all of you in terms of questions you have, and then continue to engage in that process as we develop that with our administrators this year.
Daryl, with the issues that happened last week, I didn't see the video. I didn't want Mark to, or whoever had it. I'm not sure whoever had it because it was juveniles. But I'm of the impression that the only way to stop it is with a show of force. And I know we have SROs, but for the balance of the school year, I don't know how the other board members feel, but it just seems to me that having an SRO member or officer on each floor at the high schools, each of the high schools, and perhaps full-time one at the middle school, would be a show of force, so we don't have this sort of behavior continuing. Part of our mission statement is warm, safe, and dry. They're warm, they're dry, I think, most of the time, aren't they, Chris? But they're not safe. And when you have teachers having to retreat to bathrooms, if in fact that happened, I did not see it happen, but to hide because of our unruly students, sure has changed a lot from just a few years ago. And so I think, a strong show of force with SROs. These police officers are always looking for extra duties.
So we actually do have SROs at both high schools full-time already.
But how many?
And one at each high school plus one that is kind of floating at the district level. And we have an officer at all three of our middle schools. So we do have that show of force. I think when you talk to our principals, they feel like they do have a really strong, safe environment.
Yes.
They do have these things that pop up that are incidents that happen that sometimes take over the narrative, and that's why they want to be in front of you to share all the positive things that are happening. I walk the schools all the time, and I can tell you that kids are in class and they're learning, but there are times when a fight will break out and fights will happen, and our staff do respond swiftly, and they do with discipline. And then at some places, there are, depending on the situation, especially at the high school level, there are charges that are filed as well. So our kids are not only getting school discipline, but a lot of times there are some criminal discipline charges as well.
And I will say that it never have my children said they felt unsafe during this, but it's distraction to the kids that are trying to learn. And, the teachers are there to teach, and then they get pulled into having to deal with discipline issues. And then also building consistency around this at a lower level so that those kids know the seriousness of their offenses when they get to the high school.
And Mark mentioned it earlier. I mean, you saw it with Kyra and with our Cornell teacher, Ms. Hyatt. A lot of times, the one thing that is more important than anything else is that relationship. Kids who have those really strong supportive relationships with an adult are not going to embarrass them by doing things like this. And the more we can continue to build some of those proactive strategies, we will always continue to deal reactively on the back end with things that happen, but being more proactive in our strategies so that we can make sure that students, like reading a book and writing a book and rereading the book to all of your classmates about what those expectations are, and continuing to reinforce and hold high expectations around those expectations, holding you accountable when you don't meet them, but also making sure on the front end we've done everything we can to make sure you're as prepared as possible to meet those. But I can continue to share that and work with all of you as we collaborate with our principals on what some of the best strategies are moving forward. And I'll share some of the proactive things we have in place as well.
Darryl, I've had a couple of calls from teachers in our district, and they brought up to me in the past month, look, this kid's been in 3 or 4 fights, he's still in school, she's still in school. Why are they continuing to be in school if they're in multiple fights? Why are they not expelled? And I think that's where Nicole said zero tolerance. We need to keep the schools safe, and and teachers have to deal with this, and of course it takes away from learning, and we need to, and I know I used the example, what happened on the Oscars last night is a perfect example of what those guys did. And kids see that, oh, well, this guy hit this guy, nothing happened to him. So that's just kind of where we're at. I know it's a societal problem, and parents need to take responsibility for their kids when they do this kind of stuff. And we need to make sure that we're not going to put up with it.
And we do have a progressive discipline policy where every time you do something, the discipline gets worse. Right. And we do have a lot of other options at our disposal. So situations like that, at both our high schools, we have a program, Cardinal Success Academy or Coleraine or Knight Success Academy, where they work with students who might attend a part-time basis. We have our Transitions Academy, where students might end up working there because it might work better with their family situation, or because they haven't really met the expectations at the building, and we need some intense intervention before you go back and you re-enter into that environment. So we have a continuum that we try to support the students, but we do have that increasing level of restriction if students are continuing to make the same mistake over and over. So I'll share that with you as well as with a summary, and then gather all those questions so we can continue the dialogue as we work with our principals.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
I think with, past several board meetings have been just amazing with the kids, and like shining a light on the positivity is just amazing. Like, and this stuff is going on all the time. And I know how much effort, Brenda and your team, you put in for the academics and the raising of the bar academically. My concern is I don't feel like this discipline group that we're having some behavioral issues with is the majority by any means. But they could have enough influence that it does impact our academic ability to move a needle, so to speak. So I would personally like to see like that built into like a work session, where maybe we have the building leaders speak to individual issues or what their thoughts are, so that, according, like a couple people have said, that we have some level of consistency. Like I shared with you today, Daryl, people know that they can tell what school they come from because there's this trend of discipline that comes from one school, and then when they get to the next level, they see this. Like, and I think these all need to be corrected. Everybody's working incredibly hard to educate our kids, and I think this is a barrier that may be a temporary thing, just because a lot of kids have been just kind of sequestered with COVID. But I watched the one video from social media, and these are adults that are fighting. I mean, they're not children. And I think I watched a couple of our staff members get in the middle of this, and that is concerning to me. So, Chris, to your point, having one RSO in one building, you're just not going to cover two buildings on either one of them high school campuses with one RSO. And I'm not saying we pull the trigger on doing something right now, but I think we're putting our staff in a very uncomfortable position to try to break these up. They're kind of doomed if they do, doomed if they don't. So you break it up, then you take a chance on a parent being upset because you physically grabbed my kid and pulled him off of another kid, right? Or you let them go and you didn't intervene. So they can't win in a certain style, I guess. And so having an RSO who is an authority figure, I think would be a possible advantage.
And I'll tell you, our buildings do an amazing job, because every quarter they are pulling discipline reports. They are analyzing how many referrals kids had, where in the building the referrals were coming from. They're redoing supervision strategies to make sure that if there's a hot spot in an area, they are putting extra supervision there. They're looking at the number of referrals kids have, and if you've had multiple referrals, they're putting individual plans in place. They're looking at classroom data. If there are a lot of referrals coming out of a specific classroom, they're adding resources and supports to that classroom to make sure that teacher has the support they need to make sure that they can reduce whatever's happening in that classroom so that learning can happen. So there are a lot of strategies that are already in place that are working on this topic. But like I said, we will continue to collaborate, and I'll share information with you that you're asking for, get your questions, and we'll continue to work through that.
And I think another initiative is the next layer, right? Because you and I have had conversations about, at the Coleraine Elementary campus, we had a parent go bananas and scare the entire campus over there to a point where the RSO officer came out to check and see what was going on. We have all these situations that we have parents that come and egg their kids on to get into a fight on our campuses. Absolutely 100% unacceptable. And that we can instill a culture and a guideline for our kids, but whatever it is, it needs to be big enough that it encompasses their family as well. Because, and how much influence we have on that, I don't know. But, like Jim was saying and Nicole was saying, like a zero tolerance, like we're just not going to tolerate that. We're here to keep your kids safe and educate them and prepare them for the greatest success that we can provide for them. And, when I talk to my daughter, she tells me, she goes, that stuff breaks out, I go to the diagonal far corner of the building. I don't want any part of it. But you shouldn't have to do that. But, I mean, I get things happen.
And we would hope that everyone, when something broke out, would move away from the situation so that our adults who are trained could intervene instead of recording it and posting it on social media.
Oh, and egging it on. Like, to me, that's as disgusting more disgusting than two people having an altercation and physically getting into it. Egging it on. I watched the video, I just had to turn it off. I was so upset about it. It's embarrassing, honestly.
You know, we come down to the fact too that, at least, Mark, I think you related to me, that teachers are considering leaving the district because of this sort of behavior. And what I'm hearing here is all well intentioned, zero tolerance, and we have committees and progressive discipline. But honestly, it's not going to change anything until we have a show of force, in my humble opinion. And I don't know if it's appropriate for me to make a motion right now, if it's within the Roberts rules, but we have a lot of money that was bequeathed to us from our Uncle Sam with the ESSER funds. And Amy, is it appropriate for me to make a motion here?
I'd like to see what the administrators.
Well, we're at the end of the school year, Nicole. We only got 2 months. By the time we get back, I'd like, when there's something that happens, the best way to stop it is when there's an immediate response. And I know in the military, that's how the military works. You don't think about it and talk about it for 2 weeks. You do an immediate response. And we're not talking that much money, but I think it would send a signal that Northwest does not tolerate this and will not tolerate it, and we'll have trained people with the power of arrest in there to take care of business if it happens again. A lot of these folks, I just have been around enough young people working in mental health that they like things like that because they can take videos and post it on social media, and that it's almost a cult thing. I mean, if we wait our next meeting isn't for a month. I'd like to make a motion, and people can vote no or abstain, but if I can, I would like to make a motion.
If you're talking for ESSER funds, those have restrictions, so.
Well, I've checked into that, and you can use it for school staffing. And if not, then we use general funds. We're not talking that much money. We're talking 2 months.
I would also like to reiterate something that, Mark, you and I have talked about, that sometimes some of these things hit media and they look bigger than they are. And so, yes, we have fights. Are our schools unsafe? No. Are our kids who fight being disciplined significantly? Yes. So I don't want a disproportionate, and I know you want a show of force, Chris, but I also don't want us to have a disproportionate response to something that is, yes, our staff's seeing this, absolutely. Is it distracting? Yes. Is it stopping learning? No. Is it something that we're continuing to address? Yes. But is it that crisis level that a social media post makes it look like? No. But is it something that we do need to continue to address and talk about? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the administrators and get consistency and look at the zero tolerance. If second offense, maybe we need to build something stronger for a second offense than what we have around those policies. But I think it needs to be pulling the administrators together because they're put in that place to trust to make decisions around discipline. They know the students, they know, the multiple offense type of thing, so.
Absolutely.
And they're in the schools every day.
Yes,
We're
and their
not.
opinion
And I think
is
we
very
need to do
valid
that. Just
and
let's
valued
see what
here.
they've got to say and.
Well, it's just time is of the essence, but I'm willing to, see what the next few weeks bring, but, we might have to revisit my uniform policy that we implemented at Northwest years ago, and that did help. Whatever the naysayers said, it did help, but kids feel like they're part of something with collared shirts and pants that, you know,
Well, that was the PTA that initiated that.
it was my
Down
idea.
at Pleasant Run Middle. I know,
Yeah.
and that was the PTA is the one that came to us with that.
Yeah, but,
And then it went on to Northwest High
but
School.
we had a 77% parent, we had a parent vote on that.
Oh, I know.
And it was
I here.
77% that
Yep.
supported it. And so I'm just thinking that we need to do something because blah, blah, blah talk isn't going to change anything. But that's just my opinion. And I'm not a professional educator, but I've been on the board 3 prior terms. And, you know, it just has to stop. So I'm willing to give it some time, see what happens in the next month. And we're so far into the school year, probably is a moot point at that point at the end of April at our next meeting. But, you know, I'm for a swift and strong retaliation to these troublemakers because we got to keep our schools where people are not afraid to come here to teach here.
I'm kind of like right in the middle. I see everything that you're saying. I agree with Nicole as well. But I think we need to send a strong message at the end of the year and bring that into the start of next year. Because it does seem like, yeah, even though it is a minority, it seems to be growing, in my opinion. And I think we have to just stop it, like whatever initiative, whatever that takes. But I agree with Nicole that I think we should sit and discuss that with building leadership to just get us kind of the state of the union of what each building has, to the same point that you were talking about the principals coming and speaking to us and sharing and bragging. We also need to hear what their struggles are too. There are teachers that are afraid of the violence that's going on in the school, and that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. And you know, what do you do about that? I mean, I don't want to see a teacher have to intervene in a violent situation because I have no idea if they're qualified to do that in any level, any fashion.
And our teachers are not expected to intervene. They can choose to if they feel like they have the skills to, or if they've been trained through some proper training. Our administrators are the ones who will respond to a physical altercation like that.
But they subject themselves to litigation when they do that. I mean, the minute a parent sees that and they see this as an opportunity to advance on that.
And if a staff member intervenes in a brief but necessary way to maintain safety, they are protected. We do have any litigation. Our defense counsel would defend our teachers because they do have under that policy the ability to jump in for brief but necessary ways to maintain the safety of the environment if someone is getting hurt. So we do have and we do train our staff on that. So there are some things in place that you guys are asking about. So I'll try to put kind of a summary together with our code of conduct, share that out, continue to get feedback so we can kind of prepare the kinds of questions. I'm hearing a lot, so I'm getting some good feedback here about the questions, but we'll continue to have ongoing dialogue so that we can continue to flush these conversations out, and we'll do that again with some of our administrators in the room so they can share their perspective as well.
I mean, I think the takeaway is that the kids need to understand that they need to understand that the culture of our district is they're just not going to tolerate that anymore. Now, it's always going to happen. There's no way you can have buildings full of thousands of kids. There's no way you're going to avoid it. But, you know, just like when our parents raised us, right? I know that if I do this, more than likely this is what's going to happen. Like, they need to have that understanding. And right now, I don't know if they have that or not, to be perfectly honest. And that's not, I'm not pointing the finger at building leadership or the AO or anybody. I'm just saying, like, sometimes we got to have course corrections as we're moving down the road.
And being in our buildings and working with our administrators, I do think, and our teachers, that we have set high expectations for our kids academically and behaviorally. We are putting processes in place to reinforce that, and there are consequences on the back end. I do think that things happen, and sometimes they're videoed and they look bad, but those are not the things that are happening on a day-to-day basis in our buildings. We can pull the number of fights by building and show you years of data that show that we're probably right where we normally are. Where it's different is social media. Yeah. It's always on video and it's always posted, and so our buildings are continuing to hold people accountable. They're maintaining high expectations and they're supporting kids to meet that. what you saw tonight from Cornell is a developmentally appropriate way that they're doing that, and it's happening at all of our buildings in a way that is developmentally appropriate for the age that they have.
Sure.
So we'll continue to collaborate on that.
Awesome.
Couple comments I have. One, for starters, social media aspect is huge, and it's not necessarily even a new thing, because I know, think back around 2010, 2012, we had a White Oak Middle student that was posting videos on YouTube of his own altercations with other students, you know, instigating it to be videotaped by his friend or whomever. And I'm not saying that's what's happening recently in these cases, but I know that does happen, has happened in the past. And as I already mentioned, I think it's, you know, important that we collaborate with building leadership. As Jim mentioned, they're the ones on the front lines that are handling this at the building level. And I have caution when we talk about zero tolerance. You know, I have questions, concerns, you know, what does that look like? What does that really mean? Because I'm a fan of corrective discipline, and, you know, I'm not saying not punitive, but more corrective than punitive, and along with being progressive. And, you know, for starters, it's, you know, like if, you know, my son at Corrin High School, you know, gets into it with another, you know, student and elevates to the point where they're pushing, shoving, throwing punches, what have you, and I don't know that they're thinking in the back of their mind what's going to happen that they're doing that. They're just, you know, so frustrated to the point to where that happens. So then, you know, zero tolerance in every case, you know, my understanding of zero tolerance is if you're involved in altercation, involved in a fight, you know, this happens and this is the result. And zero tolerance takes out the, you know, at the building administration level, the ability to, you know, take it on a case-by-case basis, you know, per, you know, the student. And, you know,
And the kids get the code of conduct at the beginning of the year, so
right.
they know, okay, this is the expectation. Matt, if you get into a fight, this is what's going to happen. If you get into a fight the second time, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
They need to know this. The parents need to know this. Do the kids sign off on that code of conduct?
They sign it for sports. If you
Yeah.
have
Right.
drugs, zero tolerance, you're off the team.
You know, they know. They you know, they could be into a fight, but they're not thinking in the
Well,
back of their
they
mind.
know, but I
But
don't
they
know
know
that they're
that
thinking about it
they've
at
read
that
it,
time.
they've signed it.
Right.
They know what they're getting involved in when they get into an altercation.
And Matt, to
And
your
the
point, I will tell you
consequences.
that we don't have bad kids in our district. We have kids who make bad choices.
Right.
And a lot of times that suspension or expulsion is the time and space needed a lot of times for our counselors and administrators to put in plans on the back end for a student as they re-enter. And there are a lot of reentry plans that are in place so that students are getting the support they need on understanding what happened, why they made that choice, and what other choices are moving forward. So, like I said, we do have things happening on both sides of it, on both ends of the spectrum, and since you brought that up, I wanted to address that as well, Matt. Thank you.
We'll hold off on any motions, but I think if this does continue and does happen, I understand that the teacher actually hid in the bathroom, which is insane.
Do we know that's true?
I was told by a reliable source. I don't know, was it Daryl?
I don't know which situation you're talking about. If you want, after the meeting, tell me the name of the teacher, I'll look into it. But have we had situations where it has been a little bit more chaotic than others? Yes. Do we have staff who are coming to work afraid? I don't believe so. And if we do, I've not been made aware of it. Like I said, I walk through our buildings a lot, and our buildings are orderly. They are learning. They're in classrooms. A lot of times these things are happening in unstructured times. So we will continue to share information with you as we continue the conversation.
And I think that's where some of this comes in. Like, I think things are shared with the board members that maybe don't make it to Banning Road. And so we try to be ambassadors and bring it to you, just so that you know and that you're aware. And you can't fix anything that you're not aware of, clearly. And so I encourage you, if that is the State of the Union, that people share that, so that we can address it appropriately.
Because again, I want to make sure that we're addressing systemic things and not things that are one-off, because
Sure.
that's a different issue that we need to
Right.
look at.
Absolutely. Anything else? Ed Choice voucher litigation. Okay, let's see here. Amy, can you explain this to the audience, please?
So the Ohio Coalition of Equity and Adequacy was first developed back before the 1997 DeRoff lawsuit, where parents and other members gathered together and sued the state for not funding school districts. And the Supreme Court has ruled that school funding in the state of Ohio is unconstitutional, and we've done it several times, and it's still not been addressed. So now that the state has changed the funding formula yet again, and they're working on increasing vouchers. And when they do this, they're going to take the money to fund these vouchers from the same line item that they pay for public school district funding. So what this will do is it will send money to non-public schools and reduce the money that the state spends on public school and public education. So the Ohio Coalition of Equity and Adequacy, has filed another lawsuit in January with the Franklin County Common Pleas Judge, or court.
Franklin County?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it is to fight the expansion of vouchers. And so what this would do is this would, as a Board of Education, you would be joining that group in support of not supporting the expansion of vouchers and supporting public education and the funding of public education.
We talked about this for the board prep meeting, and Matt, I'll say it if you agreed, that's fine, if you don't, speak up, please, that if we're going to reap the benefit, then we need to get our hands in there and get dirty as well, for the benefit of our district. So at that juncture, when we talked about it, we have an action item of recommending that the Board of Education approve the voucher joinder resolution, which authorizes and directs the school district's joinder of the Ohio Coalition of Equity and Adequacy of School Funding Coalition, and directs the district treasurer to pay the coalition dues as set forth in Section 3. Matt, did you want to say anything else about our conversation about that?
So basically, yeah, I agree that we need to get involved. Is that?
And that's
Well,
by, go ahead.
Well, I'll start with, I'll make that motion of what you just read.
Okay.
Second.
So moved. And yes, I agree that we need to, throw our hands in to, fight the expansion of voucher program, so that to benefit our district.
And the cost of that participation is per student, correct?
$2 per student.
$2 per student, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 15.
Less
to
than 3 student vouchers
Yeah,
is what you're going to pay
yeah.
per year.
Motion and a second. Any questions?
Yeah, I got a discussion on it, Mark.
Sure.
When I first ran for the board back in 2001, I was a member of a local political action committee called Family First. And Family First, I was brought into it by a former board member and president and one of our local trustees, Mr. Dan Unger. And a couple of our strong issues were pro-life and pro-choice when it came to schools. I understand the dilemma, Amy. And I'm probably coming off as some extreme right-wing kook here tonight, but it goes deep inside of my soul from my dad, who was a very conservative, very smart man, served in the United States infantry, nearly killed in World War II in Germany, and I have never wavered. So when you see my no vote, understand that Family First was the first group to give me any endorsement, any money in my first school board. So in keeping faith with the early supporters, still being sympathetic to their charter mission, I'll have to not be able to support that.
You know, the problem is that they take the money, the line item, away from the public schools. I don't have a problem if you want to do that. Do a separate line item where they're not taking money away from public schools, if that's what these guys want to do up in Columbus. I mean, this is how they take away money from one side, or you give you something on the other side, then they take it away on the back side. That's the problem with this, and this is getting out of control. You know, it's your choice to go where you want to go, but we shouldn't have to pay the price and do with less because of their choice of going to, you know, a private school or whatever. Give them the money, but don't take it away from the public school system. You know, have a own separate line item if that's what, you know, all these representatives and you know, in the House and in the Senate want to do.
And to go one step further, definitely don't take it from local property tax dollars to fund them. It's, you know, I think local property tax dollars are intended for public education. And going towards a private school, for example, it's like, well, now it's not, you know, is it still private education then, or is it public education? And it's not, because they're not held to the same standards that we are as a public education, public school system, with the, you know, testing and, you know, various standards that we're required to uphold, along with, you know, we teach every student regardless of their needs.
And we've been talking about discipline. When you go to a private school where they just say, you know what, Mark, sorry, your kid has got to go.
They kick them back to us.
And they come back to us because we will educate everybody.
Right.
And they don't even have to tell us why your kid got kicked out. And that's a problem in itself there. You know, let's all play on an even playing field, you know, if you're going to want to do this.
Well, I can just throw out one in regards to that. I taught at one of the large parochial girls Catholic high schools in Cincinnati, and I was astounded after, you know, this was years and years and years ago, 40 years ago. One of my students threw another girl's shoe out the window. Girls will be girls, boys will be boys. Wasn't no big deal, but apparently she had other issues, and later on somebody had told the principal, and she walked down, and I was standing right there, and she says, "You will not be coming back next year." And that was the end of it. There was no board, there was no hearing officer, there was no nothing. Again, it was 40 years ago. I'm not sure it's quite that stern and strict now, but I was amazed how the Catholic private parochial schools operate when it comes to discipline issues. But needless to say, there weren't any discipline or many discipline problems in that school.
Any other discussion?
None from me.
We'll call for a vote. And that passes 4-1. Okay, that brings us to board member comments. Chris?
Mark, I've had enough to say tonight.
Oh,
That
God.
brings it to you, Mr. Detzel.
I want to thank the Mrs. Tyler coming in with the cosmetology class. Those kids are awesome, and I learned a lot about cosmetology that I didn't know about. So, yeah, she sounds like she's a great teacher, and those kids love her. And I love seeing like you said, the alumni coming back,
Yeah.
and just kind of telling their story, where they're at, and that's kind of why every other meeting I want to bring these Butler Tech classes and these kids back, just, you know, to show the public and the community, hey, this is what your kid could get into and possibly do. So I just kind of, you know, want to thank Chris Trentman for setting that up and getting that, you know, every 2 weeks.
Sure.
You know, we're bringing a class or whatever. And then Mrs. Hyatt, the third grade class, those kids are awesome. And, you know, that's a big deal, getting your book published.
Absolutely.
And you're in third grade, which is a cool thing. And, you know, and there's a first-year teacher here in our district going above and beyond, which is awesome. And Nicole, thanks for getting them to come. So, yeah, other than that, I'm good.
Great, thanks. Cole?
All right. First, I'd like to offer my prayers and condolences to Amari Kelly's family and LaShawn Dickerson, the students over at Northwest and the staff, and I'm sure today was a really rough day for them, so I've been thinking about them today. I'd like to wish all of our middle school and high school spring sports teams that are getting started a safe and successful season. And thank Ms. Hyatt for coming in and Mr. Clymer and the group of students. That was awesome to see, and I'll be looking for how to get a copy of that book. And also Ms. Tyler at Northwest and Butler Tech. My mom went through Northwest Cosmetology School many years ago, and I'm sure it looks much different now, and it's great to see those programs continue to grow and the alumni come back. So, and thank you, Daryl, for your support and continuing to try to make things better at all of our schools. So, thank you.
Mr. Teensworth?
Yes, I'd also like to thank Mrs. Hyatt and her third graders that came up and stood up right in front of here and spoke earlier. They really have some pipes on some of those voices. So even not being in front of the microphone, I got a feeling they were probably still picked up by Waycross, hopefully, and that everybody from home could hear them. And Mrs. Tyler and the cosmetology students from Northwest Butler Tech and alumnus, thank them for coming. And also like to echo my condolences for Amari Kelly and his family with the tragedy in the car crash, and everybody involved, the students from Northwest and the district, the teachers, the staff, the first responders, everybody involved. Also, my prayers with LaShawn Dickerson, who was the driver injured in the crash, and also the driver of the other car, and a 13-year-old, which I believe that name was released, was also injured in the crash as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't imagine what it feels like for an educator or building leader to lose a student. Like you are pouring a huge investment into them, and you develop the relationship with them. So my hearts go out to Northwest and then the district as a whole for that loss. Obviously, Mari Kelly's family and all the other injured kids that were involved. I love these presentations that we've been doing. They're just, it is an absolute blessing. These are the things that need to be shined on more and more and more. So I appreciate you getting the principals engaged to help with this initiative. You can palpably feel a different feel to our meetings from this, which is we have an incredible successful group of kids in our district. I went and saw the play for the Coleraine Drama Club Saturday night. One of the most entertaining displays I've ever seen. Like it was, and talented, absolutely talented students. And I just think about their potential. And I'm glad we had the discussion around the discipline and the behavior, because we need to remove as many barriers as we possibly can so that the kids can excel at whatever pace they decide they want to excel at. And then I just want to reach out, thank you staff for all that you guys are doing. I feel like reflecting back from this time last year to where we're at now, I feel like we've really turned a substantial corner to move the needle in our district. So thank you very much.
Yep, thanks.
And with that, we will do a motion and a second for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We're all in agreement? Meeting's over. Right on.